Alright, this is the Marshall PC Wabash. We are on the Scotland side of the ferry waiting in line. We got a ferry in front of us. Got a ferry coming across the river. Got a ferry over here at rest. So we got at least three ferries within sight. Let me turn y'all around and show you that you can't see it. My pillar's in the way, so bring it back. We got one of the ferries, the Powhatan, coming in to unload and then probably load us up, but you can see it.
They're closing up the gates, getting ready to take the ferry off. But while I was here, wanted to bring you right here is osprey, baby. There's two baby ospreys, and the mama in the middle, she's the bigger one, and the smaller ones are flanking her. My truck's down there. We are headed to historic Jamestown. You can see the small little ships that came over here. We'll be there in about 20 minutes or so. Alright, we are getting ready to turn upriver. The other ferry's coming down right over there. But I brought y'all on the starboard side of the boat to look across because we're going to pass it. But I don't know how good you'll be able to see it on camera. But right there is part of the rebuilding process. Looks like some of the fort. There's a monument here right across there. Did that.
Still looks a little cramped. I guess Broncos never were much for space.
I guess we better get down so we can get out of here because we're the first one. Alright, as promised, I don't know how much you'll see up from the trees, but right over there is the small boats that came over here on. Alright, that's the layout. We're at historic Jamestown. We're going to go in and look at the museum. Then you go on a legacy walk to a historical Indian village down to see the boats and the fort. Museum, or not the museum, the gift shop. Looking at all the goodies. Whole rack of wine from Williamsburg Winery. If wine suits you, floats your boat. Yeah. Thing you're trying to dodge. Haha. Then we got Christmas ornaments over here. Like I said, we ain't been here in years. Then we got some old reproductions of what they had when they came over here. And some Indian stuff from the Powhatan tribe. But this is a pretty substantial gift shop. Right now we're in the gallery hall, the museum area. Kind of gives the countdown of what happened or how the expansion goes, I guess, starting at 1607 where we're at, to 20, to 50, to 70, 1699, all the way down at the end. Alright, I'm back. The movie's getting ready to start.
Begins in 5 minutes in the Jamestown Settlement Theater.
Now we can go in. It's an introductory film on the nation take root, how the nation took root. Alright, well, we're back outside. Walked through the walking part of the museum, and I figure I'd start you off with the tower here to mark, let's see, 1607. Quite a few years that Jamestown began. This was built in 1957. Alright. This is the reproduction village of the Powhatan Indians. The Powhatan Indians were farmers, and they helped the settlers get through some of the winters where they were starving, depending on supplies from England. Or this is what a farm would look like. Corn, look like some tomatoes or something back there. Walk in. Oh, there's Sandy. She just come out of a longhouse. They're shooting up the fort, doing a matchlock demonstration at the fort. Saw that many years ago. Well, walking in to the hut to catch up with Sandy. She run off and left me. But this would be a tribal. I don't believe this is a individual house. This looks like the council house. It's pretty dark in here, but this may be more of a family style dwelling versus the council house we just came out of. Seems like there's just a single bed over here with a fire pit here, some storage on the rafters. This would be a representation of the typical village, long houses with detached roofs. We're going to go hit a couple of the lean-tos, see what kind of interactive stuff, interpreters, and some are actually descendants of the Indians themselves. Alright, catch on a bit.
That's traditional agrarian societies, more hands, more help, larger families.
I always thought that the protein
Well,
well,
where we grew up, okay, their point, it was women's. I want to say women's work. It was their specialization. It was their skill. Certain.
And so what we're doing now is just coming through, scraping down the hide and removing those skin layers. And then in the next step would be to soak the hide in your solution. Again, historically for these communities you're brain tanning, and that's what we do here at our museum. So we get hides that we bring in personally, and we also get hides as donations from local hunting clubs. And we as a modern museum usually don't actually get the brain from that animal, so we'll go down to one of the local grocery stores and actually purchase pig brain to use as a substitute. So this is all prep work to get this hide ready for tanning.
Of all places, Sandy can find yarn in the middle of nowhere.
What I'm doing is what's called finger weaving, which is how you're making things like belts, garters, sashes, a lot of.
And he's right here, hiding on, using that log for a home. And this is a dugout canoe start. I wonder if it's the same canoe that was here 20 years ago.
could be.
Alright, one last look at the pretty skank lizard. He said, don't move. Alright. Pretty cool. What we've found is a stage by stage on a dugout canoe. First, it's burnt on the top, and carefully try not to get the sides. You want to keep your sides intact. So it's burnt on the top and then scraped off that part. Then, as we proceed to the next big log, as you can see, it's getting deeper into the log over here. And they're hollowing out with oyster shells. It has a pretty good edge on it, but you can see the char, but the sides are intact. So what we're doing is trying to burn the middle out. So it's called a dugout canoe, because you burn it and dig it out. So as we proceed back over here, we get over to one that is really getting close. I guess in that world would be completion. The side is still intact, but now it's a pretty deep cavity right up the middle of the dugout canoe. So that was kind of a phase from start to eventually finish. Alright, dugout canoe. Well, I don't think this is historically accurate, but we got ice cream and sodas in this. Alright, seeing how the Titanic is in the news and was unsinkable, let's talk about that one for a minute. Titanic unsinkable, hundreds of foot long. This came across the same Atlantic Ocean
We got 116 foot. This is the actual reproduction size of the boat. 116 foot. The deck's only 82 foot long. And it's 24 foot wide. Basically a big sailboat. And that's all it is. Not a whole lot to it. But this had 54 people and 17 crew on it. 54 colonists, 17 crew. And as you can see by the people standing up here on deck and the people going up and down the plankway, that boat is not big. I mean, people are standing on it. You can just see how much room one person takes up. And that's a guy and 2 kids up there to take up the whole front deck. And they... Alright. So, this is the smallest of the 3. The Discovery. The other one was 119 foot long, the biggest one I believe, the Constance. This one is 66 foot long, and this is the middle one, 65 foot deck. It still is nothing compared to what sails the seas now, but it had a crew of 13 passengers, or 39 passengers, 13 crew, for a grand total of 52 people. Now, let's look at this ship from out here, and we have, from my rough count, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 people on deck now. And does that look crowded already? And they put 50 people on this boat and came across the Atlantic Ocean and succeeded where the Titanic failed. So hard to see that red. They should have made it a brighter color. Okay. Which boat is this?
This is the Discovery boat.
Yeah, maybe so.
Godspeed.
Well, our clothing is actually
I'm
like the bullets.
almost the bow. Bow's up here. Oh, it's fine, really. They went across, come across the Atlantic on these little boats. And we have the first mate over here.
Hello.
Huh.
How are y'all doing today?
Marvelous.
Statue of a sailor.
I got the lower deck closed up. I got bit by bugs.
Yeah, Bill, too much water in your
But they got little cannons over here. Very little. Maybe 1.5 inches across for the barrel. Alright, we're inside the fort in the little buildings, but right there in front of us is the Jamestown Church. It has 2 bells up in the steeple. This would be a soldier's quarters. On the wall back there is the early quick loaders with patch and ball outfits hanging up, hard hat. But this would be the soldier's barracks of the day. And we have a bread oven over here for making bread. What we have here is the blacksmith shop. It's functioning, has actual functioning blacksmith. He's over here talking, doing a tour. Got some chickens in here chilling. Zucchini spaghetti, it ain't bad either.
Yeah.
Yeah, no spaghetti yet.
No, zucchini spaghetti.
You spiralize it.
Yeah, I made it the other day for
Some
supper.
vegetables, salt fish, and homemade bread, and some spinach fritters.
Spinach fritters.
Yesterday, and then salted
Pear.
forks.
Mhm.
Supposedly it's more than 3 years and salted, but I don't know.
I think it was
Some beets on the
this
table.
fish that got salted 4 years ago.
Because it
Here in somebody's house at the plant, Jamestown Fort, but obviously this person was in charge. Big poster bed, big old desk over here, private fireplace over there. So maybe the governor or whoever was in charge of the colony, this might have been his abode. Got a little night outfit up here. Looks like an office right here.
Here are examples. So it's not going to be, the board itself will be slim. There's going to be lots and lots and lots of photos. Yeah. In the English, right, they're walking through alleyways. So, yeah, we just keep room to walk around. Yeah. Questions?
All post and beam. You can see the beams, like right there, held in place by posts. So the mortar joist with that post drove through there to hold the joints together, because they had nails, but I'm sure they didn't have the quantity of nails it would have took to build a place like this. And most everybody that came was probably some sort of carpenter, so they could put these buildings up. And you know, the Amish do it all the time, and these buildings will last. Alright, I'm out again. It would be the armory, I reckon, back in the day. Indian artifacts on the wall. Like I said, the speed loader's over there. Sword right there in case you run out of bullets, which wouldn't take long in an air attack.
They're expected to eat food provided by the Virginia Company of London, shipped over from England. And hunting is the only
outfit. This right here is the munitions storage room. There's cannonballs on one side, gunpowder in the middle. Looks like they make their own gunpowder. We're inside the giant storehouse. Everything's in barrels, preserved by salt or whatever they could preserve it with. Tobacco drying in the ceiling. Each barrel is marked. And that's about it in here. It's just a big store area. Right. Colonial, historic Jamestown settlement. We took you into the fort, walked around some of the buildings. The crops on the outside here. Yeah, that's what they had to go by. Once the stores was out, they was out, because they was dependent on the Virginia Company of London to supply their needs, which often fell through, and that's why there were so many fatalities in the early settlement, because they didn't know how to grow food. They weren't allowed to hunt in England. That was for the upper echelon, so they came here with lack of knowledge on how to hunt. So luckily at first the Indians helped them out, but then after the chief passed away, Chief Powhatan passed away, his brother took over, and he didn't like no English people, so then you had the big early war that lasted, they said in the movie I was watching inside, that lasted almost 10 years, the early Indian English wars down in this area. Found out that the slaves were brought over by the Portuguese, who were intercepted by some British privateers, and they were took as part of the prize for, you know, when they took the ship from the Portuguese, and that's how the first slaves wound up here in Virginia. And they're not sure if they were slaves at first or indentured servants or somewhere in the middle. There's really not a whole lot on the early part of that. Till about 1645, I was reading on one of the charts on the inside where I guess a fellow was trying to be free, and the courts said no, he was property of this
person till the guy ended the guy's natural life, which would have made him the very first start to finish, I guess, slave in Virginia. So that's 1640-ish. And then let's see, and then just gradually moved in, and then Manifest Destiny and the rest of it all the way out to the Pacific. It took from 1607 to really, I guess, the Oregon Trail and California Gold Rush in the 1830s to make it all the way across. So what's that, 300 and some change to make it all the way to the actual Pacific and start establishing over there. Alright, well, that's all I got for Jamestown and my little history lesson. So that's Marshall P.C. Wabash. We're out.